people for Jimmy, stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
On a campaign, attention. On a campaign, attention.
Jimmy people for Jimmy, stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
In the time of Mills and Mahama, 2 CDs, $1.
Okay.
I can't be telling me coffee about Unia. Some coming home. Yeah, she say you sick as some no.
Yeah, they see toilets.
Let me say you sick as some.
Nanade.
See you now, hata. I want him near me.
You see a bien day.
You better coffee, sir.
All right, that was here for 1 hour with Munufi. We did say we are here. Offer wisdom. We did say ne also here. And then another day, Nyakupon de Maya, Menum, you know, Yabaje, Ghana, si one, Yababe, Ghana, home, Ejuma. It says, here, I'm here, Ghana, yeah, President Nana Addo, Akuffo Addo. I best say Ghana, but by the time I Ghana for who's a president, Nana Akuffo Addo, I should have said Ghana, no, not Ghana, are you too late? If I chose someone cry Ukraine for president, if any President Zelenskyy. Ukraine president, a brow by a president, you know. Or the technique be about Ukraine, and that is the same technique President Nana Addo Akuffo Addo person odeba. Zelenskyy be a president to pay, and or said I counter with Russia. And a two minor way coba kiki and then Ukrainian toba beam. Ukrainians don't even think that democracy in a Zelenskyy by. Inti calling for general election kwa Ukraine ebini hobium. That is the same style President Nana Addo Akuffo Addo wants to implement in the country. Nana Addo per se presidency no otanaso kopim se obewu. That is how I see President Nana Addo. Into the Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia eba. Na Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia abetwaso. Na wahwe unu se Ghana for end tiase se Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia entwaso. Enti washeda you see Supreme Court no. And they formulate trouble in the country. Now, NDC, NPP, yeah, na military, I take you over. Then they say, so, okay, they ain't talk about what they international. That is the same technique President Nana Akuffo Addo person of the year, this particular year's election by EMFA. NPP 4. Sir. And the President Nana Akuffo Addo, so what being is over Ukrainian style in Ghana, you can't say EMFA. EMFA. Bashiru, bibi aboko there. Renewal Raphael also medawase. We na mutima join here live on the show, and that is how we're going to do things because na be kan lokre actually President Akuffo Addo say o pese the Ukraine style na yen to about Ghana ni biba Ghana timemufo no enti ase ma until you should be ready. Now munim bibi. There is this East African proverb. I can say when a thief encourages you to go to court, just know that his elder brother is the judge. Pacha what I say. Onam. Wache kromfo. Na kromfo. We ma dey kromfo na ja tumba kan ya wo fa me court. O se fa me court. E wo se obisa won say court na enum ho no. E den e na hye ho. That means ne bra e na ye judge. Inti wodi ne koduru ho ne say ye judge no nyina ba ko. And that is the same techniques NPP for adopting in the country. We can say we must go to court. Omanka say dim say court no kodu ho a. Omanka say nuanom e na ye judges. Enti koduru a unanimous 5, unanimous 7, unanimous 9 hwimfiri Supreme Court judges 5 etina konwa so na ano no episode kire say kurukura hunu nyansa in what the speaker did into speaker anyahwe. That is Ghana Supreme Court for you. That is what they've been thinking, and that is how they believe say minor else eye. That is the style. Into only NPP ni bia kasa also go to court. No be na court no dey na hye ho a obia kasa go to court. Bashiru, you've never seen any wicked person to say President Akuffo Addo that. Yes, that is the kind of president Ghana for Koto Abadamano. Ghana for time ye kwa about man ye ka kire mo say Nana Addo a dangerous president in Ghana ni bi anje ndi. ene obi ehu nti ene won ankasa sen kofa na bedi echi ni mate ne de na ba se mate no emra no me make sure say Ghana ye nto abakora. Now, if I tell me the Constitution of Ghana, and that is how I want to do it. If I do the Constitution of Ghana, I'm a the Constitution of Ghana. This exercise here, baby, if follow me very well, and then let's do this kind of discussions all together. I am not going to make anything up. I am just going to go straight as Senate Constitution. Article 97 of Ghana's Constitution. This is what Article 97 says. A member of parliament shall vacate his seat in parliament. Which means we a member of parliament. One can seat in a mouse from MP. No, you vacate the seat. And no, beside that kind of question. No, a bra be a member of parliament and any bra what win general election. Now you swear we in to become a member of parliament. After swearing in, no. And I'll be from who say, oh, a member of parliament. If I uko premise now we near, oh, member of parliament. Uko general election now we near, oh, member of parliament. Until say, best swear we in our parliament, oh, member of parliament. That is the rule. That is the law. Law no any daho. And we are just interpreting this. Yeah. Law no daho. Okay, let me use the right word. We are not interpreting the law, but we are telling you as the law is. Per the Constitution of Ghana, no, the Supreme Court has a mandate to interpret the Constitution of the land. Parliament, the Supreme Court interpreting the law. So, and they say, at the Supreme Court, where they interpreting the law, and as a day, and as a dear speaker, was speaker just telling you what is in the law, or was he interpreting the law? But sometimes Ghana, I do when we say Ghana no koreka asa e wo man no koreka. And Article 97 say, so we a member of parliament, you name be who we are, one cassa we and I so who say parliament no onka ho biem. Ye dissolute parliament, ye break parliament by we are member of parliament be any ho biem. They say ye kwa koto abai. Ye to abani we are parliament asa parliament onya member of parliament biem until so ba me abeso in. Say we a member of parliament na e elected as a speaker of parliament onka ho biem onya member of parliament. Or the if he is expelled from parliament, after having been found guilty of contempt of parliament by a committee, and also say found contempt of parliament, only member of parliament be, but I found the relevant portions, and semi make United say one cassa as a member of parliament, and we are one cassa no you went free parliament. Nobody, be na you free ho. F no. If he resigns from office as a member of parliament by writing under his hand address to the parliament, one cassa letter, one cassa a member of parliament. Now letter. And the common speaker of parliament, the speaker, me and cassa William Munufia man can I say me member of parliament BMO. That means only a member of parliament BM and you'll be natural. G. If he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to parliament, party na uwo no uko elections ema ye to abadema uko parliament no ufiri sa party no join another political party or you seek to remain in parliament as an independent member and as we can say me say independent one kasa watchun ho free parliament team enye speaker and I can tell us away from one kasa by your own actions and inactions no what you ho free. H. If he was elected a member of parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party, my DK can say, answer now be a member of parliament and any time I also in of parliament. And this is not talking about future parliament. This is talking about the current parliament. And this is a parliament as an independent candidate. And I say, one kasa wacho who say me join any political party. One kasa by your actions and inactions, own come member of parliament and who be where you want from. And in some way, speaker actually say, this is what is written in the law. Enti mwankasa mo nipa for no, mwankasa mo yi mo free parliament. And just speaker na eka. Let me give you another scenario. Ebi na beti ase. Then I'll tell you the reason why the framers of the constitution no actually was adi way. Man wo se sebe osofu bi Ghana and body ka kunya accident. Aku nipa tu bi. I'm sure say Ghana for him sa story no. If any osofu sali from Akon or something like that. Well, I don't want to be naming names here, but let me just Sorry for using his name as an example. But let's follow this particular argument here. Osofo no ba no it was 16 years and only driver's license. Per the laws of Ghana no, say wunya 18 years wunya driver's license. And a winning license and so man kaka. That is what is written in the laws of Ghana. Enti me pacho so fun ba na odeka akunya sente kokuni pa na 16 years onya 18 years into oni licenses and was akoka ka kokuni pa no se me metena aka so fun ba na 16 years oni licenses na odeka akunya sente. Am I just saying what is written in the law and as I am interpreting what is written in the law? I am not interpreting it, but I'm just saying what is written in the law. Common sense cherubia. Enti the Speaker of Parliament no and can say ono na interpreting laws no. Dabi Speaker wasn't interpreting the laws. Sene papa panyini pa akopa at Ghana papa panyina kokora mu ya ono wa ya na dwen se adwen efe na adwen de onyusu bi ena papa yi to na tro ho asem ko ana oka sa papa we efe na je Sam Okujeto papa we efe na Sam Okujeto say ono ne de onim nyansa too much ena Ghana mbra nso onimu papa ba papa yi say ono de na dwim no what speaker did speaker was interpreting the law but a Supreme Court adjuman so interpreted the law papa Okujeto oya akokora kan okora o Ghana ho enya asemu ya na nka binim se Ghana fo nkokora fo kwa no enka no kore. Parliament makes the law but it doesn't make the parliament when enim nyansa enim brofo ka dabi parliament e ka brofo constitution e twa no brofum ya ntwere wo kasa bi a parliament and the Supreme Court nkwa nete. And they say constitution we are interpreting, you know, a brofo na me interpreting, and I don't need to be at the Supreme Court to tell what is written in the constitution. Obiya ni matwele ni makenkan. Enti papa kokora mesela usuenyansa wa Ghana ho. Na Ghana ho out nya onko na onim nyansa. All those you be a lawyer, we a statesman, we a council of state member. Suenyansa na kanokore. Also on kanokore kokora for more Ghana. Say I want to say one kanokore. Or say parliament makes law, Supreme Court interpret the law. What kind of question? Are the Supreme Court were they interpreting the law? Okujeto, Papa Okujeto, I say usuenyansa because when you baby odui ubetime ewu at any point in time. And the only thing you need to know now say, kwai ben e force me ko heaven a, me ko ka kire Nyankopon say akokora ma me boy no, die na me de ye o manum. That is why you people need to start to say, oh sa papa akokora we say when Professor Mike or some years of account, my imagine say no kore fe no kore de monka, we mambo for. We need to tell you people. Yeah, Mela, or a hypocrite can say, or a kokora on peno koreka, no peno kritie. And we need to start to tell them, Tamunya, Kwasia Semono, Papam Panjivo, Munya Sasubano, Sam Okujeto. Speaker was not interpreting the law, but he was rather saying what is written in the law. And this is simple English. Pure and Ukraine, my dear, actually, no. We don't need somebody to come and tell us, say, are they actually say one kasa as a member of parliament, no, whatever K2 seat, no. This is written black and white. Obiye ni makenkan. Ofa Ghana constitution. Akwala keto ojina P2 ni matwele makenkan. Betima chira say, "Sa die we a member of parliament now ya wan kasa watwon ho. Enye obi na pamo. Wan na watwon ho, madam fo. Munya isa ansem fo no Ghana ho na. Ghana kokora fo kokora say mo ya ha adwen o man too much. Di ansem kura ni.
Nkwasiafo pa. Ma Jimmy MPP for Jimmy. Me who be stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
All right, 1 hour with Munufia. This is how we do it. We cannot quench any person. You cannot quench no. Obey you own to you. I can't no. We are kokra. Baby, what do you cannot quench no. Upati. We finish with our job. That is how we do it. Until the Speaker of Parliament, actually, Emran say ne team. Na Ghana court on the Supreme Court no. Abra speaker actually say due to this and that no. Some 4 members of parliament and advocate on seat no. And NPP for say they be on so they would rather go to the Supreme Court for interpretation of the law. Almost they are going to Supreme Court for interpretation of the law. They are preventing Supreme Court some interpreting law no. And do you think that there Supreme Court here no, where they actually interpreting the law and as a more catch the parliament any parliament speaker and sign for. I say whenever Chrome 4 can't say court no, you yourself you have to know say ne bra and a judge. And to go to court no. I do not pen people to on my no. Go court at it, court. And we all know say oh bra and it's call. Pacho, I'm a Falco, and we will come back to revisit this particular issue. Hey, I said, what was that for? I would have didn't go home. But me, I say, Papa, we are a comedian, sometimes you don't know where I say parliamentary majority is won at the polling station, not manufactured in parliament. I keep saying, say, but me, Ghana constitution, on can't be done what Jedi. I say, I didn't know from Bibiano, now you say the Biano wait me to actually team before. That is how Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia always thinks. What we catch the NDC for say parliament, yeah, we majority or polling station. When Ghana Merendi. Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia enim Ghana Mera, wa Ghana Mera no ready. So this kind of people we be gina say man enkopa otidien.
Mo festiano emani.
Ohun kwasi asem. O pestiano mi wa Mera na o kwan man ma edisi na be ma no wankasa kwa onye Mera ni.
Mo festiano emani. Mo mestiano. Na minchikano. Enko baby ayesi eko. Mo mestiano.
Yo, stiano so beje. Campaign na we Nana Addo. Campaign na eden.
Ono a say campaign no attention.
Mo President Nana Addo say men kan kire wo Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia say wan kasa onim say campaign na tonsuom. O be kan kire say a parliamentary majority we no police station. Yenim ya we parliamentary majority or police station but constitution of the country no esan kire ba before for esan we parliamentary majority. Parliament people for nipa 137 nyina kasa o nyina ko independent. Be sake o nyina free ho. They are not members of parliament again. Tunima, Article 97 of the Constitution, they catch it say, "Utimi say we need parliamentary majority." Our parliament in Anum, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Udima train back in Kenya. Go and read Ghana's Constitution because we don't read Constitution or we don't read law as if it's all kind of storybook. Our meaning, our interpretation. That is why the framers of the Constitution, a card, the kora enye. Kotona parliament na wangaza okyon ufi say inju mfiri ma yebe saki we fi ho. And that is exactly what Speaker did. Why I want to say, go to Supreme Court for interpretation. So we are expecting Supreme Court to because there be decision about we take here, no, and that is not what the law actually means. Supreme Court did not say that, and they were just there saying some other things. They think the Ghanaians are fools. Ghanaians are not fools. We understand everything correctly. And the NDC MPs say, yeah, catch the Ghana for nyina. Asanya catch the NPP for say they are the majority in parliament. Afenya Markins. That is not your bona fide property. The NDC MPs say they are still the majority caucus in parliament by numbers. In the Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, only Afenya Markins say we need baby in your parliamentary majority. Yeah, catch the parliamentary majority could actually be won on the place at the seat of parliament. Well, you mistaken. That's a you are against what they are. And a Ghana constitution, let's see what one case of members of parliament no resigning to go and be independent candidates. You've lost majority. And depending the laws of Ghana, no, of course, parliamentary majority could be won at the police station at the same place, or in the same venue. You could actually win parliamentary majority on the floor of the house. Parliament, we dear Ghana members, you are losing. And to be a member majority caucus, no. And you'll be a papa ne papa japadio dabi Afenya Markins who say you bona fide property and you bona fide property no we a member of parliament and for the matter say mukonya independent ni become home we 138 that is why you are now the majority leader we a coup ni me two majority leader do be and then by the same vein you kick you off accept it in good faith and go and sleep period until I can't you. We need to tell these kind of people because they don't even understand what the law says. These are the lawyers, the so-called lawyers. We have the men. But these are the men. Where are the men? Yeah. After you can see, they will not be shown now. We will walk out. And the parliament, the men see what. Don't even go there because majority leaders say that you never get it. They say, I told you, you are not part of it anymore, Master. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That is what they know. NPP for that is what they know. When them say, baby, is a minor do no, they are not part of it anymore. Ma twemo ho mangasa, ma pere, mo se mo yen kwasia for. Kennedy Japan NPP for ye
Nkwasia for pa, ma Jimmy NPP for Jimmy, me who be stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
Sir, It is a home wow, don't come. As a parliament, a serious business, a serious man, people. And NDC for way. So they go out the two. This is how you be crowd. Was also a big crowd. Ochina, a bear saying gigi. NDC for why we NDC in the Ochina. We may go by the Juma Parliament anymore. Obi Aqua or second Afako or Safako Yanko the Ho. Ochina Yanko the Ho. Ochina Yako clean Parliament. Abontin, baby, I will bet him Yanko clean ho. You know, Yanko by the Juma Keke. Yanko. Hey, Asimo. After Markins is a speaker, I'm for be a majority leader. That will speak and for be a majority leader and as a minority leader. A numbers and a chere. Numbers and a bechere. So a majority or a minority and yes speaker Rebecca. A numbers and a chere. And the time I walk for your markets, so to our Yaka Benzema, movie about to the man for no, if it's only a moi. And the whole pre majority leader by force, oh dear. Corporate members and say, I'm moving independent for no more. I know. I kind of quench it. 1 year with you, majority leader to Zoom. I feel Markins, Uncle Hobium.
Jimmy people for Jimmy, me who be stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
And I don't say Kukumuti at the Twabano. Or no, and Cherry and Fountain Co. In this, Oko Gina Batos and Oko Yabatum, our premise, the Maunia, or Beneja, or independent.
Na ebasa abato no decided over to am NDC e wo asem anyo nyame masa obi an so sa emfa unsa intim so baby and they wa wadwuma
and how do they come or say wa wadwuma militants no we are not preaching violence here. We are not preaching violence here. But yes, you could clean parliament in home. Or you could clean home. You could do the home. Oh, I saw now the court. Oh, second now the court. Oh, a piano now the court. We no kusi be no more. No what to one. Those kind of things. That is what we need to be doing. What I say. In teaching any court do the parliament in home. In the end, this in Ibia over him be out of China no power sorry. Yenko parliament down ho afua yenko do ho yenko boa de yen do parliament down ho yema ho nyeka makama Millicent o adaje a o Ghana akobi o second na de ko o aso a de ko do parliament down ho na every power so na yesu ja o so ho ba beto mo me parliament baje juma so ho china kwakwa baje juma kwakwa baje juma o parliament down ho man for campaign na to nsuom. Hey, Asemo. Now we for unim. Paula do much me here Paula do much program bia pa tu yenti kakra bi na bi wi me de nchire mu be ma na fi de ya to aso yenti Paula do much ha.
But if by the doctrine it is meant that even where the authority exercises that power in violation of that constitutional provision, a court has no jurisdiction to interfere because it is the Constitution which allocated that power to that authority, then I emphatically disagree. Okay, we're getting somewhere, isn't it? Justice Akwa says that where an authority has been given something, they can do it. But if that should mean that even when they are violating the provisions of the Constitution in doing so, then he doesn't see how the Supreme Court cannot interfere. Parliament has been given the power to pass bills. They've been given the power to vote, and they've been given the power to do voice votes and counts and all of that. The Constitution has provided what a quorum means and what voting means. Justice Akwa, may he rest in peace, says that if that means that they can violate the Constitution, then he disagrees. That Parliament cannot violate the Constitution. That authority cannot violate the Constitution. Let's move on. There's another text in the same case by Justice Akins. He says, the courts cannot justifiably avoid its constitutional responsibility, and it will be palpably wrong to suggest that the court will be usurping the constitutional function of Parliament if the court exercises its original exclusive jurisdiction to interpret and enforce the Constitution, as the Attorney General seems to contend. The fact that such matter involves a political question does not necessarily mean that it cannot be adjudicated upon. I like this one. This is more direct.
But also Paul Paul Asheda. I'm sorry for Paul Adomochire. I'm very sorry for him. On Timbrase. Now, if somebody is in some admin kitikiti way, echo law school will be failing. Because mera, you kind of say kind of storybook. But surprisingly, no, some seasoned lawyers also got it wrong. Yenti lawyer Maurice Sampa, how he also understands what happened in Parliament and at the Supreme Court, and then what happened in Parliament. They all get things wrong.
Supreme Court kasa na waka omutie me mention my dear. 18 years Supreme Court beka no aye final. E fe so two momentie Ghana ha there were two important things and the highest in Ghana. One, supremacy. You can say bibi is supreme. Bibi anywhere is supreme. Maybe anywhere is to check the constitution. In Ghana, no, what will be the supremacy of the constitution? Meaning, near constitution, the Bekano, and you find out. So that Christopher can say, at the mention of the name of Jesus Christ, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus is Lord. Sana Sugana, at the mention of the name of the 1992 Constitution, every knee, every institution, every power, every authority, every institution, every kingdom, every individual, every bibi getting their bow to the constitution.
No correct.
It is a case of supremacy of the constitution. Till their constitution become eso. And then so sovereignty. You can say almost 2 million women say no. The people. And in our constitution, sovereignty resides in the people. And you nipa Ghana for the 2 million and the and the 2 million and parliament. Parliament is not sovereign. And then this idea, Parliament is not sovereign. Parliament and so Parliament and will be also nipa super idea super or Ghana and constitution. And the people. Power belongs to the people. And you know, the constitution kasa no waka. And the constitution so ama the Supreme Court the power. So one say a bano say ya enforce the right, enforcement of the right, fundamental right of the people. Supreme Court have exclusive jurisdiction when it comes to enforcement of the Constitution. Say ya enforce the Constitution, no. Ya ma Constitution in the Supreme Court. 2, interpretation. Say bibi wo Constitution mu na sa de no e say ye chire mu na ye ti ase no. And the Supreme Court pay. The Supreme Court has the power to enforce the Constitution and the power to interpret the Constitution.
Yeah, that's it. You fancy what? One say, I would have done. Millicent, what key question? Also, is this guy really a lawyer? Also a lawyer. Also, sign chairman for laws or law school chairman for a day. So let's take him like that. Meanwhile, Ralph, of course, you can come with your catapult. Say we cannot cut the bit at a while. Now there, what? We are just here quickly. Let's go back to the issue. Parliament. There was separation of powers. To say that Millicent Okano. There were 3 different arms of government, and by convention, the media I'm the 4th arm of government. But let's stick to the 3. Our constitution, executive, judiciary, and then the legislature. That is what we have. Parliament makes laws. Judiciary interpret the laws, and then the executive, government, and then the ministers and those kind of things. All these 3 arms of government, are the outcome of Ghana's constitution. And you'll be Addo. Nana Addo is president because the constitution gave him the mandate to be on a ballot box to be voted for to become president. That is the first one. Speaker Gbagban is at the realms of affairs of parliament because the constitution made a provision say yenya parliament yenya speaker. And the same vein, Chief Justice head the judiciary because the constitution and a creative judiciary aman is our powers. So all these arms of government obi e na juma. And the Supreme Court say what juma say you interpret the laws now. It does not make you headmaster or headmistress against the others. That is what juma no. And then nobody is saying the Supreme Court ain't need the mandate to interpret the laws. But let me ask you, do you think that at the Supreme Court here, did they actually interpret the law? The answer is 100% no. Because as someone can say, Afenya Markins, they come almost interpreting the laws. No, not to change it, they come him down, but rather no, they are telling Parliament, say you cannot do this, so stop it. That is where Ghanaians find fault with the Supreme Court. Say, hey, Afenya Markins, but say, Article 97, no. On Tiasie and on an Speaker Gbagban is also saying it wrongly. And the Miami Supreme Court, only Nipa 5 and Nipa 4 Nakana, among interpreting say Article 97 and Supreme Court says that they are not interested, but rather than Adia Parliament and ye catch Parliament say, yeah, the tabon atoso. And then some of us, ye catch the Supreme Court say, Munis our jurisdiction, Munis our mandate, because there were 3 arms of government and for that matter, separation of powers, Obi na Juma. And a Juma potting the man will say, that is what you need to do. Simple as ABC. And the Paul Adomochiro, NPP form Penifo, Akesia, they are getting it wrong. And as Omasheda, they are not getting it wrong, but Omasheda, including Professor Michael Queen or Nankasatana Parliament, Eddie Kanshia Samerano, or Nankasako Kranokano, on Sasheda, a cancer for Omasheda, NPP 4. Omasheda and on yes adwuma and for some matter say what we are saying is Yanka say Supreme Court enim na adwuma ye dabi. But what we are saying is omini sa kwan is omokwa chiri Speaker Gbagban ade a wonye because obi a won adwuma oyo e wo Ghana ho. Because as so far as he enim no constitution no am make awo obi a nipa miensa na constitution na awo mo. And I tell them say wo adwuma ni untimi nkoka say wo adwuma ni da bere say ye no what jai say adwuma no but rather no okwa akwa nipa foforo adwuma akokire na de a wonye dabi. It doesn't work like that. And the people who are getting things wrong here no enye parliament o dabi eye mo amu interpret constitution no in the wrong way no. Yes, Minia Sana. Also the 3 arms of government also obi are respecting the yonko. That is how it is. Wouldn't me interfere into the affairs of anybody. The pastor yesterday I just brought this up in this show. I found Article 122 of Ghana's Constitution. Let me just bring my constitution here. And person me can't say be because say asma me can me ana me can. I don't intend doing that. I will not do that. Intino Constitution that on obi anim nyansa nchen ho nchen obi a. I found free Article 115. I mean, found Article 112. So follow the argument here very, very well. Article 115 of Ghana's Constitution. About your so one man office of can be and can be. There shall be freedom of speech, debate, proceedings in Parliament, and that freedom shall not be impeached or questioned in any court or place out of Parliament. That is what the Constitution says. Article 115, there shall be freedom of speech, debates, and proceedings in Parliament, and that freedom shall not be impeached or questioned in any court. If I underline the word any court or place out of Parliament. If I just say, one can't Constitution, Parliament, one court never be some of our people. Hey, I take a 122 so then go ahead you all. Lawyer more example. Bon much that. So much that quite become minimum. An act or mission which obstructs or impedes Parliament in the performance of its function, or which obstructs or impedes a member or officer of Parliament in the discharge of his duties, or affront the dignity of Parliament, of which tends either directly or indirectly to produce that result, is contempt of Parliament. Kotena nchen baby asa wona we chief justice we hon wona ba kire Parliament adwuma wonya also contempt of Parliament achew atike 122 no. I don't know, Francisca. NPP for IBN say 135 is more powerful than 136. That again, you know. I think your market is say well, no there. So far as he knows, he's a majority leader. Supposed to know he papa there. They won no. Indeed, me nyim free nisem. Interfere market is telling us say, and there on pay his calculations in 135, so check 136 in Parliament. The way much here, we are winning asem.
Hey, people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
Ebacho, mesa de mako machibiem. Ebrebia akromfo. Obachi kromfo no beka go to court bia no. E wo question ba ko be na se obisa ho se ana kromfo yo se me court dey na wo court ho a o se me nko ho. Ese uhu se ne bra enete ho. Enti ebrebia akromfo. Obachi kromfo na o kan ya o se o court, o kan ya o se o court. Ese obisa ho se ki na court dey na se ho. Ese uhu ade ko dey se ho. Now, and surprisingly, no. Papa, we there. Hey, can I say, man? Asanti be dear to call. And cast away woo. I call cap baby almost all yard or dampum. I jump out with them. And then Gabi, as I watch it, I come for people is telling us, Parliament must by all means avoid a situation of seeming chaos and anarchy Tuesday. I, Gabi, suggest the two leaders and speaker meet before then to agree to disagree on next step. No long to December 7th. Let maturity be our guide and guide. Our guide and guard. Gabi Asarochina, I could say another. He is telling Ghana for say, Yanko Transana, Yanko Jojo. We can there. Ah, and then to say what Yanko Transana Jojo. We be on Jojo Tuesday. What if a Chief Justice? And the four justices now Gabi and Kasau de Qua Lady, Nabra, but can't you speak as hey, I can't you say next away. I dare I say, I don't know, way I'm Gabi, I'm why I can't you what the post na bre, one in an asanti be there to more dear check. And there's another asanti be there to a yare, none of what you know, Aquada. And yet, then a Gabi who says, I are no a Jojo, post in a Udino, Utim fatal for now, free a month for the now campoa. Udimpoa. Lawyer more example also about homa udinem poa or who him kra. And never will say they are no kasa. I know we now crosses our boundary and they carry what the Parliament Speaker and the Chief Justice or Parliament or Speaker so the rights to talk about you before contempt. The Speaker back can be an NDC for ready so major tum and your court about Parliament about your parliamentarian what they need to do. And then you will Gabi as I watch the Dakon and a betcha Ghana for Addo Monye. Gabi, Omerene 7 December, I do where we, you are going straight. The post now the NASA, who post in an article, Minia, and Naka Caben Seminiano, about we, why, Minia, don't worry, the audience and Yankopon, wow, you are not sick, you are fit. When they pa on Sasu to me type, ultimate Kirawano to make and when Yaka, what's the Santi to can be there? Nana Santi to what's what can be? A cup. Now he's fighting for his life into Onkabi, into 1 hour no wa. And Onimka, and our no son, and Onimka, and our sawa, and Onimkra. The Tuesday was the lead in a parliament. All right, 1 hour with Monofi, Midi, any William Monofi, among Kona, and then that would can hear my pacho. You just have to like the show because anyway, no, I think it's fun. And as well, ye charade kakra. Now if they been suffer home. Now, when I watched Paul Addo watch this show, no, there were some key points that Paul got it wrong. If I told yentie and some Paul kind ye, na yen chile Paul say, onye ne ho, na adia es oyeno, onye ni ye. If I told yen kwenye Paul, and some Paul, ekaye, eba, better also.
What was the 2-4 verse Attorney General? This was a very controversial matter in which the Supreme Court was invited to have a conversation about something Parliament has done. I'll say it in just one line in a minute. A nomination had been made by the President for the position of Chief Justice in the person of Chief Justice Apalu. Chief Justice Apalu had appeared before the Appointments Committee of Parliament. He had indicated to the Appointments Committee of Parliament that he needn't be there because he was already Chief Justice. You see, it's a bit technical, but we can understand it. The 1979 Constitution came in to replace the military regime of SMCD 2, SMC 1, and all of that. During the military regimes, Parliament was closed down. The military became the executive, but the judiciary was maintained. However, the soldiers never maintained the Supreme Court. So the court structure ends at the Court of Appeal because the responsibility of the Supreme Court is constitutional interpretation. Soldiers didn't want their decrees to be subject to interpretation by the Supreme Court. So when the soldiers come, they close down the Supreme Court. Those people were talking about coup. I don't know whether they've forgotten. Anytime the soldiers come, they close down the Supreme Court. So the highest court is the Court of Appeal. So the Chief Justice is a member of the Court of Appeal. Now, the transitional provisions of the 1979 Constitution said that any judge who was with the Superior Court of Judicature, that means the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, we call it the Superior Court of Judicature. Any judge who was a judge of the Superior Court of Judicature will continue under the Constitution as a judge as if he was appointed under the Constitution. I'm sure you get that. So if you were a High Court judge, during the coup time, you're a High Court judge. The Constitution comes, you remain a High Court judge as if you were appointed under the Constitution. Chief Justice Apalu was the Chief Justice. He was the Court of Appeal judge and the Chief Justice. And then the Constitution came. So his understanding of the matter was that he remains Chief Justice. He didn't have to be nominated by the President under the Constitution, but the President nominated him. He appeared before Parliament Appointments Committee. He indicated his resistance. The committee said he should be vetted. He was vetted and he failed the vetting. And so somebody took out a writ, Dr. Akuffo of blessed memory, took out a writ to the Supreme Court and said, Mr. Supreme Court, Parliament didn't have the power to vet Chief Justice Apalu because under the constitutional arrangement, he was already a Chief Justice, and therefore, the vetting of Justice Apalu was unconstitutional. The point was raised by Joe Renda of the Attorney General that, no, you can't say that. Parliament's a master of his own procedure. Parliament has vetted him and determined that he's not fit to be Chief Justice. Even if he was Chief Justice already, Parliament has made the decision. Vetting, the Appointment Committee hearing is a matter for Parliament. The court cannot come in. The Supreme Court said, no, we can come in. If Parliament has been determined to do something that is unconstitutional, then the Supreme Court will come in. So the Supreme Court came in, made a determination that the vetting of Justice Apalu was unconstitutional, that Justice Apalu was Chief Justice anyway, and nobody can change that. So that's the first time we heard that. That's the 2-4 story. It's all done, but just to bring you the history, I'm building it up to today, and then we understand where these things are coming from. So that was 2-4 in the Attorney General. Just as a matter of interest, for those of you who like the constitutional history, who were the lawyers in this matter? Okay, there we go. So for the plaintiffs, that is Dr. Akuffo. These were the 3 lawyers that represented Akuffo in 1979 who were urging upon the court that the court cannot, the court can interfere in whatever Parliament is doing so long as it's unconstitutional. They were making the point that Justice Apalu was already a Chief Justice and the vetting of Justice Apalu was unconstitutional. The team was led by Nana Akuffo Addo. It included Dr. Edmond Prempeh, who is today a chief in Menshia Palace. And guess what? Chachu Chikata. Time changes, isn't it? This is 1979. I'm sure a lot of you were not born. Okay, I was born, but I was small. So this is the set of lawyers who defended the Constitution and said that the Supreme Court, for the first time they said the Supreme Court can interfere with Parliament. That the fact that Parliament is a master of its own procedure does not mean that Parliament can breach constitutional matters. It will be interesting to hear what Chachuchi Kata says about the ruling of yesterday. Thankfully, all of them are happily with us. Dr. Prempeh is now a chief in Mesha Palace. Nana Akuffo Addo has already spoken about the ruling. Chachuchi Kata hasn't. It will be very, very interesting to see what Chachuchi Kata says about the ruling, because he it was who went to Supreme Court in 1979 to make the point that the Supreme Court can interfere with Parliament so long as Parliament is doing something unconstitutional. Chachuchi Kata said that in 1979 to the Supreme Court. Nana Akuffo Addo said that to the Supreme Court. Today, Nana Akuffo Addo has affirmed that position. We can't ask Dr. Prempeh because he's a chief, okay, unless you go to Mesha Palace to ask him. But Chachuchi Kata is around. The journalists should ask him. That's what I talk about all the time. They should ask him that, Mr. Chikata, you made these arguments before the Supreme Court in 1979. Your arguments have been upheld by the Supreme Court yesterday. Justice Jones Doche has upheld your argument, Mr. Chikata. Do you still stand by it, or have you changed your mind? That would be an interesting question for journalists to ask him. But hold on, let's build the story. Okay, so congratulations to the three of them. They opened the eyes of the judiciary and the eyes of the law reports to say that, well, the courts can always interfere. Let's move on. Okay. So these were the lawyers for the defendant, that is Attorney General Joe Randolph and Mr. Archibald Late Jabate. The two of them represented the state, and they were the losing party in the matter. So that's to for an Attorney General. Next came, we had to wait until 1997 for this matter of whether Parliament is a master of its own procedure to be tested again. In 1997, it was a bit more elaborate, and I'll go into it. What was the 1997 matter about? It was about vetting again. Can you imagine? 79 was about vetting. 97 was about vetting as well. It was about vetting. What was the matter? The matter was that the majority NDC in Parliament at the time had been the main party in Parliament in 1992 because the opposition boycotted the Parliament. And then in 1996, the opposition took up the seats in Parliament. They didn't win many. 61 seats were won by the New Patriotic Party. 5 seats were won by the Convention People's Party. And I believe 2 other independent candidates, including the legendary Hawa Yakubu Ogede, may she rest in peace. So 1997, January 1997, the opposition was in Parliament. Then, because NDC had been in Parliament alone in 1992, the vetting was uneventful. Nobody even remembers it. But the Constitution had required the vetting, of course. We remember it because Ekos Pilgabra was disqualified because he was not a registered voter. That's the only thing we remember from the 1992 vetting. Everybody went through. Speculations were arriving in the media that how is vetting going to be now that the opposition NDC MPP was in Parliament? And there was a lot of difficulty and rancor among the opposition and the government at the time. Rawlings was in full flight and J.H. Mensah and others were there. So everyone was anticipating what will happen. Okay. In the circumstance, a letter was sent to the Speaker of Parliament announcing the list of ministers. It was decided by the NDC at the time because they wanted to avoid the MPP people in the vetting committee. It was decided that, look, people who were already ministers in the first term of Rawlings do not need to go through any vetting. It is those who were not ministers who are coming for the first time that needed to go through vetting because they were trying to avoid the MPP doing the vetting thing. J.H. Mensah, who was minority leader, quickly took out a writ at the Supreme Court, reminding himself of to foreign Attorney General, went to the Supreme Court to say, look, Parliament is going to violate the Constitution. I want the Supreme Court to speak about it. Let's hear the story about that one. So this is the case. J.H. Mensah versus the Attorney General. Let's see what the letters. Now, I want the letters after that. I want the letters, please. Okay, they'll get me the letters quickly and then we'll deal with it. Yeah. Okay, so so this is the first letter that was written by J.H. Mensah to the Speaker. J.H. Mensah is minority leader. He wrote to the Speaker. Okay, I hope they have the letter in detail. Is that all we have? Yes, okay, so this is the letter to the Speaker and it's signed by J.H. Mensah. These are the details. Okay.
All right. Enti, so utie adea Paul Adom Ochre eyena. What he was trying to mean is say Supreme Court ewo kwan say okwachire Parliament adea wanye. But where Paul got everything wrong and say in all those decisions, Supreme Court made sure say they were rather interpreting the Constitution Because the key in 2-4 verses the Attorney General and they say Supreme Court says Parliament was doing something against the Constitution illegal. So they just jumped in to do the rightful or the needful, which is to interpret the Constitution properly to Parliament. No problem with that. Do you think Adi Ababi here, no? Was he rather interpreting or saying what is written in the Constitution, or he was rather interpreting it wrongly? And that is the reason why Afenya Markins went to the Supreme Court and said, hey, Court of All, there is a problem in Parliament. Speaker Barben, actually, I did a Constitution, but me might be no. Mr. Metias Fufro, and Timo Machere at some Supreme Court was not interested in that. And at some point in Afenya Markins, Nankasa the court, no, Supreme Court wasn't interested in that, but rather no, they were saying something different. And then many Ghanaians are saying, say, the speed at which Supreme Court would make convey back and we know a questionable kakra. That is something Supreme Court people you need to think and then understand it. And he said, America can say President Nana Addo Akuffo Addo again say. Obetime be Zelenskyy style ni bi wo Ghana ama Ghana ye nto aba wa sheda de azan kudita bi ba Ghana se na Ghana ye nto aba President Nana Addo you lie ye beto aba opa ye bibia ye beto aba afiwe enti President Nana Addo me se na me hu Nana Addo ne se wa sheda odim se Mahmoud ba me ntime we ne enti o sheda mo Supreme Court no afoment trouble in the country na Parliament ya konto kwa na soja fa kwa na soja fa ka se kiki okay sa de abato no ye nto obo ye beto we ye de ye beto NPP for yeah, beto about we beto.
Nkwasiafo pa.
It's a campaign am we no.
Ono a use campaign no attention. Attention.
Campaign am we na attention. Rafti. Hey Rafti. Paul I don't watch it there. I don't know. Akwa jiske when is kano send Kevin Taylor here shoe and say no this can be din kwala and sorry nti I don't know okowia na boafa na dream he doesn't even know what to say. That is why, because this can we are no is can the most annoying journalist in Ghana recently Paul Addo or misinterpreting say me kabom when I stay bi Hey, Nana, you don't have a mood with me.
Mumfastiano, Emami, Mumemistiano, Naminchicano, Enco baby, I see a call. Mumemistiano.
O campaigno.
Ono a use campaign no attention.
Mo, and you better use court in it. That Ghana for Massa, Mfa, and I Ghana will be go to court, will be go court to be more. There be Obien or court. Obia and see court to them be. And the Parliament, Eshemra. Na Eshemra Anthony, your penny or Parliament, I think the Speaker of Parliament. Also, Tia Drum, Speaker Barben, he is the Speaker for now. Chief Justice, also the court. Now the presidency. Obia wana juma oye. Obia wana juma. Into China de we NDC niya ye clean up our Parliament. Ko bo clean up the ba wo ajan afabra wo tire afabra wo tikaya asodin yen ko ye clean up ho ko bo clean up style bia bi na obi also on tiase no o de also the soldier for ba for mobra ba parliamentarians to ho na o de akọbọ obi na afede yahwe ba mo kokonto kwa ho abato no mo president Nana Addo Akuffo Addo ye beto ayi woni nkrofo no nyina firi ho but to kikimuna off obie no betima tena ho. That is something we need to be telling you all of the people here. Ti medama se kofia wankwa mini ya wako there the nyamia se samson mini ba Rebecca and so I join here live on the show. But your program is 1 hour with Munufie. That is how I've been doing live stream almost every blessed day 5 p.m. Ghana time. Inti say uadaja na epacho otime ajoin me. Na kukurumbuti na edeto abane de ye Mr. President Akuffo Addo say e hwan ene de ma wo
Abato no decide so beto ama ndc e wo asema anyo nyame masa obi an so nsa emfa nsa intim so baby and they wa wadwuma
ti President Akuffo Addo say men kan kire say 7 December abato na beto no kukurumbuti no wan kasa wo dia obia enso wonsa enkyerɛw baabia fakutim enti se wo decide se obeto ama NDC a wa wasem wo decide se obeto ama NPP a wa wasem na na mete ya me ka kyerɛ se abato we wokoto atoma NDC ne John Dramani Mahama because President Akuffo Addo kura hu se campaign no NPP de na atonsuom. They have no policy. They have no policy directions. Omuti and some John America, then they copy and paste it wrongly. That is what the NPP is doing. And to me, I can't just talk about John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. Okwa I'm here where we are which no John Mahama. Come on, not this sequel. That is why we are going to vote this particular year's election. And ya de yet and I say Mubina can't say that be your crosses are limited. Obia so ntimi nwia ba num ti wa gwen se obi wia ba wem bia na pa sesama gwen easy man no pass sesama gwen because nobody is going to give you that kind of mandate na da ba wia ba num da bi ye nkɔ ne sa biem abatu ye koto no unya za da agye na entu biem ti NPP for there
nkwasiafo pa ma Jimmy NPP for Jimmy me who be stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
Yes, all right. Rafti, but Paul and Baumia, they're the same. Say they are feeding him and giving him money. So that's why he's behaving as if say Baumia a behaving. They have no policy, they have no nothing. They only think like say about on the end than the parliament. But Paul always gets it wrong to say Americano. Or to me holding a whole program, no program na idea or chilling. He doesn't even understand it. As will be natural can say me was seminar or teaching him yes I Parliament makes laws. Supreme Court interprets the laws. Supreme Court doesn't order Parliament what to do. Ubia on a juma way. Until we okay na court the Supreme Court can be Supreme Court can one kind. Supreme Court what kind of bonnet. Some people also tell you that some kind of one kind of what kind of bonnet, and you cannot sit at the Supreme Court and tell parliamentarians what to do because Parliament is also a new institution by itself, a constitution. A Supreme Court, a judge, you know. That same NMA Parliament is also from members of Parliament, and for that matter, no, send a more Chief Justice as your head. You know, Parliament also have the Speaker of Parliament as the head. For now, as we speak, Babin is the number 3. In Ghana, I want to say Koshipo. Koshipo. Badman is number 3. Minianum.
In the time of Mills and Mahama, 2 CDs, $1.
Okay. I can't be sure I'm going to far about some coming home. Where she say you sick as some no.
Yeah, basic toilets.
I'm say you sick as some.
Nana Addo.
See you now, hata. I want him be any.
You see, you're being the day.
You're the professor.
All right, 1 hour with Munufie. I grow now there. Sometimes I say a tunta to cook or the children crew be the money bibi asha or masasa or manya, a jumabi asha or masasa or manya, or my imagine say or money. We need to tell them how to do the job correctly and rightly. Say the baby what him when be about your program idea, bonus type baby. Bono East Regional Chairman Chairman for the Chairman South Chairman Mechao. Bono East Regional Chairman of NDC, Chairman UNESCO Style BAB. Christopher Basunteba Yereta, Chairman South NDC and parliamentary candidate. Dali, where there? Kowenchia Alhaji Seidu Haruna. Boa, honorable Bakope. Boss Style BAB. Alhaji Nkwane timi bo professor to nchen pa na Alhaji Seidu eti adwam ene mo besu ateawu na no me hu se wanchi NPP parliamentary candidate ne nam Spain Italy oyela la sulala o riska campaign na tonsuo mo bi ama hu toilet builders ba jijiskede ko si toilet o wanchi abodam Okwa Nkransa South NPP for Akuffo maame kromfo bi so nko contest Imano Kodjajekum. Ote Flagstaff House amaame no ote Flagstaff House ni kunu nso ye adwuma okoko board. Omo wiye koko botto no sa no diskene ko je Nkransa. Ote Nkransa South House amaame no gisika ne bidi. Oye kromfo. Oye adwuma the chief of staff maame abrewa na ote won so bribe nkwa no mema no. Hope since maame abrewa bi te Flagstaff House otua bribe nkwa. Samere wa form NPP no kokora for no me criminals scratching atai amadwe nya kromfo nko a. Amotisi wa sikebi omno baby Ankonansa South. Imanoko Jajekum is whom we are voting for. Jisikari bidi na sankrofo we.
Nkwasiafo pa.
Sara pepe NPP for. We NPP now question be bisa na mema answer. Are you ready? Kwasia korono ya mama mobiem. Galamse chama wuntumi yebe kulusu adwuma na one time. Tida bet say jo mama we ne ba bia na opa wan kase dwane firi Ghana. Yes ah. Oniema ni nyane yebe sisere yebe twagya to machine nyina. Empe korono se bia wuntumi poison Ghana fo nyina nsuo enkasa wo pese onyeska. Da bi yenye ne sa Ghana ho. Ti sa ma me na wakotana Nkoransa sa wo contest Jekuma wo te Flaster House wo ye spokesperson for chief of staff wo kunu se edwuma kokoko board no wo ye koromfo Nkoransa fo nto aba ma wo. Empe korono se bia ho. Light ade bobo Nkoransa nyina wo wi afiri kokoko board for light and ade begun Nkoransa ni nyina yinem wo ye koromfo sa ma me no. Ko wanchi a kwadwo frempon se hwan masa o de tambe so be hwan de be yo. E ba bo boss style bia bi wanchi ho. The boss type be Techimai South NPP candidate amoho. Minister for local government Omereba. About boss type be Chama UNESCO. Say about boss type be about ya say abrabonede. And Pekron same be how politics bo. Until we yes kana unko di dabi. Techimai water projects can be obi an amount for befiaba. Ye very wiem. Hey, agora na e descenso, you know.
Nkwasiafo pa. My Jimmy people for Jimmy. Me will be stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party.
All right, that was a form that will be as a 1 hour with Munufi. Me any William Munufi Amankona and me the program be see her every day. I stream 1 hour until me patcho so nyamre and subscribe ya. Patcho nya time na subscribe mame. Send the be me ba you get it along the point. Now me abo akwawiye. The same way no ubet me like ashes ama foforo so ensa kan bia onyame mwa na yenko. Tinyame adoma wo chena same time me no be share me din any William Munufi Amankona. Bye bye.